LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
You're 6 minutes away from a live episode of Free Talk Live. Listen live at freetalklive.com.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, December 6th, 2018. Silver is trading at $14.40 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,238 per ounce. Zen is trading at $5, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,770. Antiwar.com reports a bipartisan bill has been introduced into the Senate on Wednesday, which would, among other things, declare the Senate's general belief that Saudi Crown Prince was in control of the security forces at the time of Jamal Khashoggi's murder, and by extension, complicit in that murder. The resolution was offered by Senators Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Todd Young, Dianne Feinstein, Ed Markey, and Chris Coons. Graham says he believes the Senate has to make a statement to try to make a Saudi relationship that's sustainable. The bill condemns the Khashoggi murder, expresses a high level of confidence in the prince's involvement, and makes a non-binding call for both the U.S. and international community to hold him accountable. In addition, the bill calls on the Saudis to negotiate a peace deal in Yemen, a settlement to their dispute with Qatar, and to immediately release a number of detained political prisoners. Zencash has changed their name to Horizon to better represent their transition from a cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're working towards the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizon platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizon to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. Services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. HORIZEN.global. UPI reports Wisconsin's Republican majority legislators voted to curtail the powers of their incoming Democratic governor on Wednesday. In an all-night session, the Republican-led Senate and Assembly voted to limit early voting and diminish the powers of Governor-elect Tony Evers. The legislation will hamper Wisconsin's withdrawal from a multi-state lawsuit seeking to overturn the Affordable Care Act. It also gives state lawmakers more power over the state's Economic Development Agency, which Evers has suggested eliminating. Another part of the bill makes it harder for Evers to alter some laws passed by the Republican-led legislatures, including the state's voter identification law. Republican Governor Scott Walker said he plans to sign the bill before he leaves office January 7th. The overnight session produced a 141-page bill after numerous delays and discussions behind closed doors. Democrats decried the concept of an outgoing administration intentionally handcuffing an incoming government. Senate Democratic leader Jennifer Schilling said, "We've had 132 legislators milling around this building for a day and night and morning." The Senate also approved more than 80 of Walker's appointments to various state agencies, with Democrats noting that most of them had not had public hearings. The legislation limits early voting to 2 weeks, puts the legislature in charge of litigation, including a suit to overturn the Affordable Care Act, eliminates the Solicitor General's office, which oversees litigation, and requires the governor to obtain legislative approval to ban guns at the state capitol, a topic of Evers' gubernatorial campaign. Born into a devastating world and raised among the crowd, the Cloudwalker assumes a new identity and begins the unrelenting quest for truth. In this epic journey, he discovers dark secrets about aspects of his previous life that he once trusted. Through the journal of the Cloudwalker, he shares both the traumatic hardships and the eternal beauties of his experiences. Fueled in the beginning by his unsettling thoughts and emotions, he learns how to find peace with everything he has woken up to. Dear Society by the Cloudwalker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports the likely incoming Democratic chairman of the congressional panel overseeing the U.S. Census said on Tuesday he aims to pressure the Trump administration into removing a question about citizenship from the 2020 Census questionnaire. Representative Darryl Conley said that when Democrats assume leadership of the House of Representatives in January, they plan to call Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross to testify about the citizenship question, which has spurred criticism and lawsuits. Conley told Reuters in an interview that Ross earlier lied to Congress about why the question was added to the census census, adding it's not too late. We have until June before the forms are finalized. Evidence produced by the committee could also be cited by courts investigating the matter. Ross announced the citizenship question in March, billing it as a way to help enforce the Voting Rights Act, which requires a tally of citizens of voting age to protect minorities against discrimination. Critics have said the question could depress the response to the census from immigrants who often live in Democratic-leaning areas. If undercounted, areas with high immigrant populations could lose seats in the House of Representatives. Conley and Representative Elijah Cummings, likely chairman of the Full Oversight Committee, earlier this year questioned Ross's contention that the Commerce Department added the citizenship question at the request of the DOJ, saying court documents indicated Commerce initiated the idea. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
If you're a parent, chances are you know all about the Spooky Truth books, with subjects ranging from shadowy fraternal organizations to mind-controlling TV shows. Kids can't get enough of this series of short, scary children's novels.
And Spooky Truth author K.L. Graves is joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You know, my kids just love these books. In just 4 years, you've put out 25 books. It came from Tower 7, Curse of the Chemtrails, The Zionist Who Cried Holocaust.
Now, this stuff has really been catching on. Over 40 million copies sold, so many bestsellers out there.
I've been thrilled. Before this series, I was self-publishing pamphlets and handing them out on the train. Now I get emails from teachers and parents all the time telling me that my books are all their kids can talk about.
Oh, well, it's true. My son used to hate to read. Now he's holed up in the basement with these Spooky Truth books all day and night. Says he never watches TV, doesn't even want tap water anymore. He just loves reading so much.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. We'll give you the toll-free call-in line here momentarily, where you can call in to join us and bring up whatever is on your mind. The us in studio tonight is Darryl.
And Chris.
And Chris, apparently there's some good news in New Jersey.
I know.
Like,
that's
not really a sentence that I'm used to saying.
I don't think anyone is, even people in New Jersey. But I think it's good news.
Yeah, so story here from Reason. What is it?
Garden State crime is down since New Jersey ditched cash bail. And we'll get right into it, and I'll answer some of your questions before you pop in.
All right. Well, the first thing...
See, you couldn't help it.
Well, the first thing is we need to make sure that people know what we're talking about here. What is cash bail?
It's covered in the article, but we'll tell you right off the bat. Right off the bat. But cash bail is the process that determines who can go free until trial and who ends up sitting in jail until trial.
Right. And generally, as applied, not as written, but as applied, it really, winds up harming people that are of a lower socioeconomic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you could have two people. Let's say that Mr. Rich Wall Street guy is accused of murdering his wife.
All right.
And he might be able to come up with the $2 million bail that's been put on him.
Yep.
And then you've got the poor schlub in New Jersey who, let's say he had a bunch of unpaid parking tickets.
Yep.
And he's asked to put up $500 or $1,000 in bail.
Right. I'm guessing if he had $500 spare dollars, he would not have unpaid parking tickets.
More than likely,
just a
correct.
Guess.
Right.
Just a guess.
So in those two circumstances, we have two completely disparate crimes. They're not even similar. Unpaid parking tickets versus murder.
Right.
But the guy who commits murder is likely going to be free on, probably not on his own recognizance, but free on a cash bail. And that means that he's not in jail. He's not taking up a cell that may need to go to a real violent criminal.
Right.
But this guy who with his unpaid parking tickets is. So we're going to get into this. New Jersey is about to end its second year using a pretrial court system that has all but stopped using cash bail to decide which defendants can stay out of jail before appearing in court. And guess what? There's been no spike in crime. So that talks about a big thing, when we have these bail, bail helps prevent crime because it keeps people locked up. And
it keeps bad people off the street, which if the point is to keep bad people off the street, why allow them to buy freedom at a certain price?
Right, exactly. Critics of bail reform say that forcing defendants to commit some money as a condition of pretrial release is why they show up to trial and keep their noses clean beforehand. Mind you, it was primarily the bail bond industry making this claim because it has a financial stake in maintaining cash bail.
Of course.
But they weren't the only ones worried about what would happen to the crime rate when New Jersey allowed more people to remain free before trial. Thankfully, New Jersey has not seen an increase in crime. In fact, it's seen the exact opposite. Stats collected over the past 2 years show a significant drop in crime across many major categories. The New Jersey Star Ledger compared the violent crime numbers from the first 9 months of 2016 to the first 9 months of 2018 and found a 30% drop. Homicides, rapes, robberies, assaults, and burglaries are all on the decline. Over the same time span, New Jersey's pretrial jail population has dropped by 40%. Now, I just want to jump in here and say that I don't believe there's causation here. I don't believe that by stopping collecting bail, that caused crime to drop.
Right. I'm wondering, what other things happened? Were there changes in, the way cops go after, say, petty theft?
Sure.
The way cops enforce drug laws, for instance. What's been the economic
exactly.
How's the economy in New Jersey now compared to 2 years ago?
Right.
Because we know that economy winds up playing, a more important factor than, say, mandatory minimum sentencing.
Sure. And I don't think they make the point in this article, and I don't think anybody's trying to draw a conclusion that if you reduce cash bail, your crime will go down.
Right.
That's
what you will wind up doing is you wind up, not disadvantaging someone by having them go into the courtroom in the prison jumpsuit.
Right.
Because it's been statistically proven that people that show up, the defendant, when they show up wearing the prison jumpsuit, they get convicted at a much higher rate than people that show up in, either a suit and tie or street clothes.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Over the same time span, pretrial jail population has dropped by 40%. That's a huge savings to the people of New Jersey.
In theory.
Yes, in theory. We should, of course, be wary of about too much correlation here. First of all, we're seeing a general dip in violent crime nationwide, and the Star Ledger is talking about the statistics for the most dangerous crimes. Nevertheless, it's not too soon to say that reforms have yet to fail. Under New Jersey's pretrial system, courts use risk assessment to calculate the odds of a defendant will commit additional crimes or miss court dates while on release. The calculation is heavily informed by a defendant's criminal history, and with feedback from attorneys on both sides, the judge evaluates these risks and decides the terms of pretrial release for each defendant, calling for varying levels of monitoring depending on risk level.
Right. So they might wind up basically putting somebody on, say, pretrial probation.
Sure.
You've got to check in with this person X number of times a week. You've got to take a drug test. You've got to this, that, the other thing.
Right. But the important thing here is that they have empowered the judges to be able to do this and to make some of these decisions. Let me see here. If the judge decides there's no way to make sure the defendant shows up for court and stays clean on release, the judge can keep him or her detained in jail until the conclusion of the case. Judges detained about 18% of defendants in 2017.
I'm guessing those are people that either were deemed a flight risk or they were being held on, that aforementioned murder charge.
Yeah. If it's
where they've got a history of violence.
Right.
And, you know what?
Or a big, long, just a criminal record, a big, long criminal record. I mean, that could make a judge. And maybe in previous cases, he's jumped bail too. Right. You know what I mean? He's just not shown up. In short, the new system appears to be keeping violent and dangerous defendants behind bars while allowing lower level offenders more freedom as their cases make their way through the court system. Keeping defendants who aren't dangerous from languishing in jail is important. Those who are stuck behind bars just because they can't afford bail often end up feeling like they have no choice but to plead guilty, if only to get out and get things over with. Defendants who are jailed unnecessarily risk losing their jobs, getting evicted, and suffering other economic consequences that destabilize families. Studies show that defendants who are likely to get bad plea deals and receive harsher punishments than they would if they were free. Why? Because they have no leverage with the prosecutors, they're desperate, and sometimes the court systems operate so slow that they serve the equivalent of their punishment in jail before they're even tried. For many lower-level crimes, the pretrial detention feels no different than being convicted.
Right, and whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty, but no, we're going to keep you in jail for 6 months before we ever wind up having the case, and if convicted, you do 90 days. What? Oh, right. You know what? We'll let you off with time served. Oh, thank you for letting me serve twice what the law says the punishment is.
Yeah, it's insane, and you know, I don't want to come across like I'm pro-crime and I'm pro-criminal or whatever you're thinking out there. The real fact is that, yes, Darryl is correct. We have a presumption of innocence, and to unnecessarily hold people, particularly over minor crimes or victimless crimes, it just doesn't make any sense.
This is Free Talk Live. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733.
She seems happier. Her fur is so much shinier, silkier, softer. She has really mellowed a lot.
Sheba is 105 lean pounds of shiny, smooth, happy dog for life.
The shedding has stopped. The itching has stopped.
Since 2001, we've helped more than 250,000 dogs get over their nutritional deficiency miseries.
And saved our customers bazillions in vet bills.
Everything we tried failed except the Dynovite.
Come to Dynovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
If you want the dog to be healthy, you got to feed it something healthy.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
The digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Dynovite for life.
Don't let your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy.
Come to Dynovite for help.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
Do you operate a retail business and are looking for a solution for point-of-sale cryptocurrency acceptance? It's never been easier thanks to AnyPay.global. There's no paperwork or approval process to open an account. If you already have a tablet at your cash register, you're almost done. Just sign up at AnyPay.global. Drop your personal crypto wallet addresses in our setup page, and then load our app. That's it. You're accepting cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Dash at your store. Get started now at AnyPay.global. That's AnyPay.global.
Free Talk Live.
Pushing women to the ground with a camera in her hand, I think a real man wouldn't do that. And you got to be on roids or something to get into that state of mind.
Well, Wayne hit it on the head. If they're not on steroids, and a number of them, some of them are, most of them probably aren't. They're not on steroids, maybe, but they're definitely high on adrenaline. Former drug task force officer, when he started with the police, he would get that adrenaline rush from writing a ticket. And then, of course, he acclimated himself to it, and then he needed something else. He needed to escalate. He needed to have something else. So it got so extreme that he would leave people uncuffed. Like he'd bust a coke dealer or something like that, and then just leave them uncuffed on the hopes that they would get up and try to run.
So he could kick some butt. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Ovaltine. Give your kids the nutrition they need to be their best. Visit us at ovaltineusa.com. Telling your child about healthy food choices is important, but showing her what to eat goes a lot further. Have her help create the grocery list, then bring her to the store with you. Picking out healthy foods together helps kids get in the habit of thinking about what they're eating every day. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we're going to delve into this topic about innocent until proven guilty, allegedly. Like, that's what we're told, right? But yet, you wind up having people that wind up being held in jail until their court date because they didn't have the money. And then, well, the jury thinks, well, why else is he in those prison clothes if he's not guilty? Again, we'll get back into it in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you about Bitmas. Yeah, you've heard of Christmas. Well, now we're in the 10 days of Bitmas, as in Bitcoin. So Christmas shopping just got cheaper if you are a Bitcoiner. 35% off swag and hardware wallets until midnight today, Thursday, December 6th. So if you're listening to us and it's after December 6th, well, there's a new discount. And you'll just have to go to store.bitcoin.com and then click on 10 Days of Bitmas to find out what it is. But until midnight tonight, again, 35% off swag and hardware wallets when you use code BITMAS35. BITMAS 35. And, of course, that's over, again, at store.bitcoin.com. And Bitmas is running until December 14th. Each of the deals that they have are running for 48 hours. So instead of, a lot of times they'll, places that do like 10 or 12 days of whatever, it's a different thing every day. These 48-hour specials, head over again, store.bitcoin.com and click on where it says 10 days of Bitmas. So Chris, there's a longer piece from Reason about innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, and it's not that dated. This comes from the August-September version of the print magazine Reason.
Yeah.
But in this, it starts off saying, quote, "I did something stupid and something I shouldn't have done," unquote, are the first words of Bill Pizer's tale of how he ended up getting arrested and jailed for the first time in his life at the age of 73.
Now I'm curious what a 73-year-old man did that was stupid and something he shouldn't have done.
There you go. Pizer, a San Francisco cab driver, said he'd been feeling frustrated with a couple of noisy young neighbors in the spring of 2017. Exhausted and angry over a sleepless night that had led to him skipping a day of work, he decided to confront them on the afternoon of April 17th.
All right.
The something stupid that Pizer agrees he shouldn't have done was to bring a .22 caliber handgun with him when he went to their apartment.
Yeah, because he was in California.
Yeah. Though the men did not answer the door when Pizer repeatedly kicked it, they saw him through the peephole and called the police. There was no direct confrontation, but as Pizer was leaving, he fired the gun by accident while trying to uncock it in the hallway. According to one of Pizer's attorneys, the bullet lodged in a wall in the lobby of the building a few inches off the floor. Nobody was hurt. But
reckless discharge of a firearm is never a good thing.
No, it's never a good thing. The police came and arrested Pizer. Pizer explained what happened, but he said police refused to believe it was an accident and insisted he was trying to harm his neighbors. He says he was prepared to plead guilty to what he had done, brandishing a weapon. But when he was brought before the court, he found out he was being charged with attempted murder, 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and discharging a firearm at an inhabited dwelling.
All right, so let me pause here, because when I think .22 caliber handgun, I don't think semi-automatic firearm, but I guess technically it is, right?
It could be.
You don't have to put, as I understand, and please correct me here, because I'm guessing there's a lot of people that don't really understand some of these gun terms.
Sure.
But as I understand it, a semi-automatic firearm is anything where you can have multiple bullets just there. So if it was, say, a single-shot gun,
right,
where you have to manually put a bullet in every time you want to fire it, that's not semi-automatic. But if you've got like a clip or a magazine that has 4 or 5 or even 2 bullets, that technically would be semi-automatic, because you can just, easily fire 2 shots.
It's kind of a non-issue. So what semi-automatic is capable of doing...
The reason I'm trying to go here is because when people hear the term semi-automatic firearm, they think, oh, it must be one of those AK-40 MR-15 things.
It is. It's a weapon of war of some sort. What they're implying, I think what they're implying here is that California has a lot of laws against semi-automatic firearms. So in this case, a firearm, a .22, I can think of a number of them, but it probably has some sort of a magazine that goes in it that holds 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 .22 bullets.
Right.
And every time you squeeze the trigger, then another bullet will come out.
Right. So that's what makes it semi-automatic, is you don't have to manually load the gun every time before you fire.
Correct. And it requires no other action before you fire another one other than pressing the trigger.
Okay.
Now,
so like a revolver where you have to pull the little clicker back?
Well, yeah, but revolvers can be fired in single action or double action, but with most modern revolvers, even if it doesn't have a hammer, you can pull hard for the first round to go out, and then everything advances, and then you have a fresh bullet, and you pull again, and you pull again. So, it's kind of silly, these differences. They're distinct, and they are to gun people.
Right.
They get that, but the end result is, you can fire off a whole lot of rounds out of a revolver in a relatively short period of time. What makes it more difficult is then reloading a revolver compared to reloading something that has a magazine.
Yeah.
But we digress. This guy gets charged not with brandishing a weapon, which he said he was ready to plead guilty to, but with... he was being charged with attempted murder, 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and discharging a firearm at an inhabited dwelling. Darryl, I thought that was the one that was going to trip you at. Apparently, is there a law in California that says you cannot discharge a firearm at an inhabited building?
There probably is.
I expected there to be like inside of an inhabited building. Nope, but at is the charge.
Yeah, I'm surprised it doesn't say in.
Right.
But again, I just wanted to point out that, that term semi-automatic firearm, it sounds really scary, but it's not necessarily a scary thing. It's just like most guns now are, by definition, semi-automatic.
Yeah, absolutely. And the round, a .22 round, is on the low side power-wise of every gun. I've got a buddy I grew up with who got shot in the chest with a .22, and he was fine. Got another friend who shot himself in the foot. He was fine.
So let's find out what happened to this guy.
What happened to Pizer next illustrates a chronic problem one civil rights advocates are attempting to force states and counties to address. Pizer ended up stuck in jail for 6 months while awaiting his trial, not because he was a threat to society. He was a septuagenarian with no criminal record who hadn't actually injured anyone, but because he didn't have enough money to pay bail.
Which doesn't sound unusual for somebody that's 73 years old. This is Free Talk Live. Your calls and thoughts welcome.
The United States of Empire is a book that claims the United States is the empire of the world. George Washington had warned us against foreign wars. The United States of Empire shows that World Wars I and II left England broken. Its former colony, the U.S., had to save the empire. Was there ever a vote? Who do we fight for? The deep state began with World War I. The United States of Empire by James Dunn. Available at Amazon Books.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survival. Highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And want to thank Ron, who is a silver amplifier. The amplifiers, those are people that are part of our AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. And for as little as $5 per month, you can join the AMP program and get perks like ad-free versions of the podcast. There's an AMP-only Discord channel, which I've not even mentioned the Discord yet. We've got Discord call-in lines, and in the Discord, there's an AMP-only Discord channel. There's an AMP-only Facebook page. There's probably some other AMP perks that I can't think of.
You know, I finally added myself to the AMP-only group on Discord, realizing that I could actually add myself to things.
Right.
Apparently, I have
because you're both an amplifier and an admin.
And a host and an admin. So, hey, I could do that. So, yeah, I look to speak with people over there, too.
Yeah. So you can learn more about that over at amp.freetalklive.com. Now, what the money does that comes in through the AMP program is it helps us do three things: advertise, market, and promote the show. Mainly to program directors of radio stations to try to get the show on more stations. Currently on about 195 stations, and I think we can, realistically be on, and it's not going to happen next week. It's probably not going to happen next year, but we could realistically be on 195 more.
I agree. I'm anxious to hit 200 because I think I like those round numbers, those little milestones, and I think it just goes to show that people are ready for a message that isn't the same, two sides of the same coin message they get on conservative or liberal talk radio.
Yes, and we are on both of those types of stations.
Where?
And again, you can learn more about the AMP program over at amp.freetalklive.com. So it's Darryl and Chris in studio tonight, and we've been talking about the criminal injustice system, specifically as it relates to two things: innocent until proven guilty, and the bail system.
Yes. And we were talking, we did a quick story out of New Jersey brought to us by Reason magazine, reason.com, that talked about, what they had seen after 2 years since they have basically done away with cash bail. What they did was they empowered their judges to make decisions and didn't just have a set formula. If you were convicted of this crime, then you have to pay this amount of bail and stuff like that.
Well, no. Bail's not for people that are convicted. It's for people that have been charged with.
Thank you, Darryl. You are absolutely correct.
That's why we started talking about the innocent until proven guilty is because, a lot of times, let's say you've got somebody that has been chronically unemployed for whatever reason.
Right.
They get arrested for petty theft. It stole $20 worth of groceries from Save Right. You've got somebody else that, upper middle class, winds up, just for the thrill of it, stealing stuff out of people's cars.
Sure.
Both petty theft.
Right.
They both wind up going before the judge, and the judge looks at his little spreadsheet.
Yep.
Petty theft, first offense. The bail is $400.
Well, and it's never numbers like that, Darryl. I want to pause right there. What the numbers are usually like are $10,000 or $100,000 or $50,000.
But there are some things, low-level offenses.
But here's
it might be small amounts, but the point is still the same. Your chronically unemployed person isn't going to be able to pay that. Your upper middle class guy will. And then when both of those people go before a jury or a judge, one's wearing a suit, one's wearing prison jumpers. The guy in prison jumpers going to get convicted like 95 times more often than the guy wearing a suit.
I don't disagree with you, but here's where the jail bail, cash bail lobby has been great. What they have done is they have lobbied for high bail amounts. So even if, and I'm going to use some personal experience, my son was involved in an altercation with a girl. He was seen at the time. He somehow their heads collided. She ended up with like a bloody nose.
All right.
And my son panics and does what he thinks is the right thing. He immediately calls the cops. My son, yes, I know. He immediately is charged with, I can't remember what version of assault it was.
Probably some kind of domestic something.
Yeah, it was. It was a domestic assault charge, but he had to post, I want to say, $10,000 bail. So there was no correlation between a bloody nose,
right,
and $10,000, other than the bail system being created so that
we've got a spreadsheet that says this offense.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the circumstances. That's for the jury to decide later, is whether or not you're actually innocent or guilty.
Oh, absolutely. But the bail industry has been very successful at lobbying for these very high rates. So you have to use a bailsman or bondsman.
Right.
And in that case, you have to pay 5% or you have to pay 10% to the bondsman, who will put up real estate or something else as collateral against that amount. So, this is sort of corporatism too. This is a very successful lobby that has basically changed policy.
Yeah. So let's get back into
this,
the case here. Again, 73-year-old San Francisco cab driver got frustrated with some of his young, noisy neighbors.
Yep.
Goes down, knocks on their apartment door, has his .22 handgun.
Doesn't get in, doesn't go in, doesn't confront them at all. Don't answer the door.
They're like, there's some crazy old coot with a gun. I'm not going to open the door.
I'm not opening that door.
He tries to put the gun back into the holster or his waistband or wherever he was putting his gun.
He was trying to uncock it.
Accidental discharge.
Yep.
And he wound up not getting charged with brandishing, which he fully expected to get charged with and plead guilty to, because that's what it did.
Yep.
But he got attempted murder, 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and discharging a firearm at an inhabited building. And he was then sitting in jail for 6 months awaiting trial because he didn't have the money.
Yes. And it's insane. Activists argue that cash bail systems violate the rights of people like Pizer, who have been charged but not convicted of crimes. More and more judges, lawmakers, and even prosecutors are starting to agree. Pizer's bail was set at $625,000 based on the schedule for his alleged crimes. The attempted murder charge was later dropped, but the bail didn't change.
Of course not.
If Pizer wanted to fight these charges from outside of a jail cell, he needed to either cough up cash or pay a bail bondsman a portion of the cost, typically 10%, to front the money for him. Pizer did not have that much. He qualified for representation by a public defender because he was considered indigent. He and his defense attorneys tried to get multiple judges to reduce his bail, pointing out his stellar record and the possibility of losing both his taxi medallion and his rent-controlled apartment. He had turned the gun over to police and didn't want it back. He promised to stay away from the neighbors. No dice. He would spend half a year in jail until his case was heard in October, at which point the jury watched the security footage of what happened, deliberated, and found him not guilty on all counts. It looks like, quote, "it looks like an old man doing something stupid," unquote, says one juror, speaking to Reason on condition of anonymity. The charges, which required proof of intent, didn't match what they saw. Quote, "This is not a violent guy who needs to be put away," the juror says. Yet, just months before, a judge had insisted that Pizer represented a public safety threat and a flight risk due to the severity of his charges. He faced a possible sentence of 19 years in jail as justification for his remarkably high bail.
More on this, plus your calls and thoughts about whatever's on your mind. But we're talking about the criminal injustice system. 855-450-FREE.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite.
Everything we tried failed except the Dynavite.
Pick up 2 bottles of Super Mega Fish Oil.
Get the 3rd bottle free. Packed with omega-3, DHA, and EPA fatty acids.
Super Mega is great for your dog's immune system, healthy skin, and soft, shiny fur.
Dogs love it. Try Super Omega Fish Oil.
Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynavite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
Would you like to get back that full head of hair from years past? Introducing Reveal from GCNlife.com. Beverly Hills dermatologist Dr. Nathan Newman invented Reveal, which contains polypeptides with natural botanicals and no parabens, sulfates, silicones, or dyes for a salon-quality hair growth product. Reveal. Here's Dr. Newman.
I have treated a lot of patients who lose their hair and they lose their confidence. We've created a unique set of polypeptides, which we call HPT6. The HPT6 contains the polypeptides from 6 different plants. The scalp infusion treatment should be used on wet or dry scalp. The Reveal hair care system is designed to be used for men and women alike.
Get Reveal at GCNlife.com with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So try Reveal today at GCNlife.com or 844-443-6637. Plus a discount up to 25% off for Reveal at GCNlife.com or 844-443-6637.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we're talking about the criminal injustice system. Specifically, the part of the system that requires some people to be held in jail for really long periods of time before they ever wind up going before a judge to determine if they are guilty or innocent of the crime against them. Reason has a fairly lengthy piece that we will get back into, but maybe since the holidays are coming up, you want to not only buy gifts for other people, but maybe you want to buy a gift for yourself. And what better gift than the gift of a good night's sleep? Well, you can do that with a MyPillow. I've got one, Chris. You've got one.
Yep.
Several of the other hosts of Free Talk Live have MyPillows as well. Now, that's the brand name, right? It's the MyPillow. It's designed to help you get a good night's sleep. And with a 60-day money-back guarantee, what do you have to lose? Go to MyPillow.com. Get 2 MyPillow premium pillows for one low price and get free shipping on all orders when you use promo code FTL. And remember, if for some reason you don't like the MyPillow, you have 60 days to return it for a refund of the purchase price. That's MyPillow.com, code FTL.
Yeah, we've been talking about this story, actually our second story from Reason on this topic. The first one discussed how New Jersey had basically done away with cash bail, the system that says when you are accused of a crime but not yet charged and found guilty, you would have been charged but not found guilty, that Correct. You have to pay money to stay out of jail. And this other article has taken us to California, where we find a 73-year-old gentleman who said, quote, "I've did something really stupid," or thereabouts. I'll paraphrase. But he had an altercation with his neighbors, young neighbors, and he's a 73-year-old cab driver. He went up there, stormed up there, and he had a .22 pistol, and it accidentally discharged. For this, he was charged with one count of murder and 2 counts of assault and discharging a firearm at a inhabited building. It was pretty silly. The judge looked at the table, which is standard for bail, and tells them quickly that he needs to pay $625,000 in bail, which is a thoroughly unreasonable amount given the crime. He goes to prison, he goes in front of the judge, goes in front of the jury. He asks for a reduction in his bail. He is denied, and then he goes to trial and is found not guilty of all charges, even though at this point he's already spent 6 months in jail. Quote, "Both judges accused me in open court of being a menace to society, and one added that I was a threat to public safety," Pizer says. And mind you, there has been no trial. If Pizer had the money, he would have been treated completely differently. Quote, If I tell the judge you can't pay the bail, the judge drops any pretense whatsoever of impartiality," he says. Quote, "If you pay the bail, you're a regular citizen. If you don't pay the bail, you're treated as guilty until you're proven innocent," unquote.
Right. And that's really the injustice of the injustice system. Sure. Is if you've got the money, then you can get something resembling justice. Otherwise, it's a crapshoot.
Yep.
And just like craps, the odds are not in your favor.
Yeah. I was trying to come up with some, if the glove fits,
then,
something. If the gloves don't fit.
If Chewbacca is a Wookiee, then you must acquit.
But again, here we have a case. O.J. Simpson's a perfect case. You know, O.J. Simpson was accused in the brutal slaying of 2 people. Right. He was obviously a flight risk because he immediately jumped on an airplane and went to Chicago after he talked to the police. He comes back and goes on a low-speed car chase?
Yeah, like 40 miles an hour.
Right. It wasn't even that. I think it was like 20 miles an hour. It was craziness, But did OJ go to jail? I can't even remember. Was he denied bail? Or?
I know he went to jail after he sold all of his sports memorabilia.
Right. But that was
then went to rob the guy that he sold it to.
Yeah, that was all in Nevada. But in the original, I think he might have.
I don't remember.
Yeah. But here you have a guy, basically charged with murder, and I'm going to have to Google that because I may be wrong on that. It seems to me that he was in jail for some period of time there. But the point is there's lots of people, lots of wealthy people that never set foot in jail just because they got the money.
Right. Or they might sit in, like booking overnight.
Right.
But they're not spending, any serious amount of time.
Yeah.
And if OJ was in, it was probably for a weekend until he was able to see a judge.
Yeah, I'm just
while you're trying to find that, let's go to Sarah calling in from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yes, you mentioned the Christmas gift, and you know that we have like bait packages to catch the porch pirates.
Hold on. What are bait packages and what are porch pirates?
Okay. Porch pirates, the thieves go crazy and they steal packages off your porch.
Do they wear eye patches when they do it?
Arr.
Well, you know what? We got tons of it out here. They're going crazy during the Christmas season. So then the bait packages actually, it's fake. It's fake. You could ask them to put them in your house, and then they follow them around. It's like a GPS.
Oh,
and, they find them.
Now I get it.
It's a
bait packages.
Yeah, they
right. Like I've heard of bait cars and bait bikes, things of that sort, to where basically, and this sounds like entrapment, right? Where you wind up putting, you might know that this area has a high crime rate, so you put something that is enticing to somebody to come steal, and then you've got cops that are just like sitting there waiting on them to pick it up.
I wouldn't get the cops involved. I'd just have fun with it myself.
No. She's what she's talking about.
Saying. I'm saying
something done by the cops, which would be, as far as I'm concerned, entrapment. Sarah, thank you for the call. But now, there are some prank videos on YouTube, and I don't know how accurate they are to reality. Because it could be one of these things to where the people that are caught on the bait bike are just paid actors.
Right.
But, it's some pretty interesting videos.
Like the one where the front tire of the bicycle's loosened up. I've seen that one.
Front tire falls off. There's one where they, rub pepper spray sort of substance on the handlebars. And then they'll have somebody shoot the guy in the face with a water gun. And, of course, they go to wipe the water off of their face.
Oh, perfect.
And because they've got the pepper, the OC, the oleo resin capsicum, basically, the pepper juice on their hands, they're getting the pepper juice in their eyes. There's others where, the bike just splits in half. There's a rope tied to the bike.
That's great.
There's also one I saw where they had a moving truck. And they had a bunch of boxes full of manure. As soon as the guy gets up into the back of the truck, they close the thing and lock it and start driving around. And all the boxes open, of course, because he's falling on top of them.
Did they have cameras in there, I'm sure?
They had cameras in there.
See?
They had to go power wash the back of the truck. And I think they wound up losing the deposit on the truck.
I would think so.
They went to Ryder and they were like, we need to just rent a truck. And it was still so nasty that,
people are going to accuse me of promoting violence, but I think those things are perfect, and I think they're just, and I think they are a way to get your point across without involving the police. I mean, if you can pull something over on a thief, they've got it coming as far as I'm concerned. And I would rather they suffer my own perverse sense of justice than trust them to the court system.
Right. So. And, there's a lot of time. We've read countless stories about cops setting somebody up on some undercover drug deal to where the person wasn't going to be any kind of, drug dealer until the cops set them up to do it.
Right. Or better yet, when cops fight or arrest each other because one is doing the undercover and the other one is an informant.
Yeah.
I love that.
Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Do you need extra cash to buy gifts or just to pay all those extra bills during the holidays? Well, now you can get cash fast this holiday season with a personal loan for up to $5,000 right from your phone or PC at 79cash.com. How fast can you get your cash? Well, with 79cash.com, our lenders can have your cash at your bank account as soon as tomorrow, regardless of your credit history. Just have a checking account and a regular source of income. Go to 79cash.com and you can get the cash loan you need now. So if you need cash fast this holiday season to buy gifts or pay all those extra bills, go to 79cash.com and get the cash you need. Visit 79cash.com. Type www.79cash.com directly into the address bar. That's 79cash.com. 79cash.com. 79cash.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, December 6th, 2018. Silver is trading at $14.40 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,238 per ounce. Zen is trading at $5, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,770. Antiwar.com reports a bipartisan bill has been introduced into the Senate on Wednesday, which would, among other things, declare the Senate's general belief that Saudi Crown Prince was in control of the security forces at the time of Jamal Khashoggi's murder, and by extension, complicit in that murder. The resolution was offered by Senators Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Todd Young, Dianne Feinstein, Ed Markey, and Chris Coons. Graham says he believes the Senate has to make a statement to try to make a Saudi relationship that's sustainable. The bill condemns the Khashoggi murder, expresses a high level of confidence in the prince's involvement, and makes a non-binding call for both the U.S. and international community to hold him accountable. In addition, the bill calls on the Saudis to negotiate a peace deal in Yemen, a settlement to their dispute with Qatar, and to immediately release a number of detained political prisoners. Zencash has changed their name to Horizon to better represent their transition from a cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're working towards the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizon platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizon to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. Services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. HORIZEN.global. UPI reports Wisconsin's Republican majority legislators voted to curtail the powers of their incoming Democratic governor on Wednesday. In an all-night session, the Republican-led Senate and Assembly voted to limit early voting and diminish the powers of Governor-elect Tony Evers. The legislation will hamper Wisconsin's withdrawal from a multi-state lawsuit seeking to overturn the Affordable Care Act. It also gives state lawmakers more power over the state's Economic Development Agency, which Evers has suggested eliminating. Another part of the bill makes it harder for Evers to alter some laws passed by the Republican-led legislatures, including the state's voter identification law. Republican Governor Scott Walker said he plans to sign the bill before he leaves office January 7th. The overnight session produced a 141-page bill after numerous delays and discussions behind closed doors. Democrats decried the concept of an outgoing administration intentionally handcuffing an incoming government. Senate Democratic leader Jennifer Schilling said, "We've had 132 legislators milling around this building for a day and night and morning." The Senate also approved more than 80 of Walker's appointments to various state agencies, with Democrats noting that most of them had not had public hearings. The legislation limits early voting to 2 weeks, puts the legislature in charge of litigation, including a suit to overturn the Affordable Care Act, eliminates the Solicitor General's office, which oversees litigation, and requires the governor to obtain legislative approval to ban guns at the state capitol, a topic of Evers' gubernatorial campaign. Born into a devastating world and raised among the crowd, the Cloudwalker assumes a new identity and begins the unrelenting quest for truth. In this epic journey, he discovers dark secrets about aspects of his previous life that he once trusted. Through the journal of the Cloudwalker, he shares both the traumatic hardships and the eternal beauties of his experiences. Fueled in the beginning by his unsettling thoughts and emotions, he learns how to find peace with everything he has woken up to. Dear Society by the Cloudwalker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports the likely incoming Democratic chairman of the congressional panel overseeing the U.S. Census said on Tuesday he aims to pressure the Trump administration into removing a question about citizenship from the 2020 Census questionnaire. Representative Darryl Conley said that when Democrats assume leadership of the House of Representatives in January, they plan to call Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross to testify about the citizenship question, which has spurred criticism and lawsuits. Conley told Reuters in an interview that Ross earlier lied to Congress about why the question was added to the census, adding it's not too late, we have until June before the forms are finalized. Evidence produced by the committee could also be cited by courts investigating the matter. Ross announced the citizenship question in March, billing it as a way to help enforce the Voting Rights Act, which requires a tally of citizens of voting age to protect minorities against discrimination. Critics have said the question could depress the response to the census from immigrants who often live in Democratic-leaning areas. If undercounted, areas with high immigrant populations could lose seats in the House of Representatives. Conley and Representative Elijah Cummings, likely chairman of the Full Oversight Committee, earlier this year questioned Ross's contention that the Commerce Department added the citizenship question at the request of the DOJ, saying court documents indicated Commerce initiated the idea. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Sources within the Vatican confirmed Tuesday that Pope Benedict XVI has dispatched an elite team of 6 bishops to sabotage leading contraceptive manufacturer Pfizer. Codenamed Conclave 6, the highly trained team of bishops will reportedly infiltrate the heavily guarded compound, detonate extremely powerful charges at key points within the factory, and then escape to a nearby safe house.
The Catholic Church can trust only the best with defending God's plan. Conclave 6 is the deadliest team of bishops I've ever laid eyes on.
The Pope denied rumors that a B team of needle-wielding priests had been deployed to a latex factory in New Jersey to poke tiny holes into thousands of Durex condoms. Locally, the best part of a gay 12-year-old's day is the half hour he spends eating lunch alone in a stairwell. Calling it his only respite from constant ridicule and mockery, 7th grader Ben McElroy says life doesn't get better than the moments he spends quietly laying out his lunch on a secluded staircase while the rest of his classmates are in the cafeteria.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, kicking off our number 2. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And you can call in to join us with whatever is on your mind, though. We have been talking about the criminal injustice system, specifically in regards to the cash bail system and all the ways that that winds up actually hurting people. And, you know, in this case, I'm talking specifically about the accused. Because supposedly in this country, we have a system where you are innocent until proven guilty. But what winds up happening, and we've got an article from Reason Magazine that they've posted on their website. What winds up happening, as has been reported here, is that basically the defendant has to wind up proving their innocence. They are then treated as guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, and that the bail amounts are sort of preset based on the crimes. Every crime has its own bail number. And this
there's a spreadsheet, and I type in crime.
Yep.
You know,
two counts.
You did
assault.
this. You did this, and you did this other thing. So therefore, $625,000.
Right, and in this guy's case, the murder charge, which was a big chunk of that, number that the judge came up with, $625,000.
This guy being Bill Pizer of San Francisco, California, who in 2017 was arrested on a couple of charges.
Yeah, including murder. But
attempted murder.
Attempted murder, but they quickly dropped that charge.
Yes.
Yet they did not reduce his bail. His bail
Correct.
stood at $625,000.
Well, see, Chris, because the spreadsheet. we have a spreadsheet.
And it says here, this is the amount. Therefore, that's what we have to do.
Right. Now, I want to sort of go off a little bit here. And I'm joking of I've got a spreadsheet and we have to do what the spreadsheet says. But that's basically how these judges wind up operating in a lot of cases. And there are some libertarians that think, well, if everything just ran on a blockchain. Now, I like cryptocurrencies. I am not talking bad about cryptocurrencies as currencies.
Right.
But the thought that, oh, well, if you just take horrible thing X and put it on a blockchain, then it stops being horrible.
Yeah, right. I worked in IT for years, and one of the things that frustrated me most was companies that were trying to automate processes that they have never made work any other way. So one of my first questions when I talk to anybody is, do you do this on paper right now? You know, do you do this business process on paper? Do you fill out a form and do you hand it to that guy who does this and then hands it to that guy?
No, because I have people skills.
The problem is people expect to gain some sort of miraculous, outcome from something they can't make it work any other way. If you have garbage coming in, you're going to have garbage coming out, and that's just the problem. I would have a real issue with things like this being on a blockchain as an immutable record because...
Right. What happens when you wind up being found not guilty and your record expunged? Oh, well, no, we can't expunge the record because blockchain.
Right. And there are ways that you could address that. There could be ways that it could be beneficial to rights, but just saying put it on a blockchain doesn't do it. It reminds me of the Portlandia episode. Just put a bird on it.
Oh, yeah, I think you had told me about that. And,
yeah,
I guess for people down south, just write Visit Rock City on it, and then you can sell 1 million of them.
Yep. And as this guy says, and I'm going to repeat this, if Pizer had the money, he would have been treated completely differently. Quote, if you tell the judge you can't pay the bail, the judge drops any pretense whatsoever of impartiality, he says. Quote, if you pay the bail, you're a regular citizen. If you don't pay the bail, you're treated as guilty until you're proven innocent.
And the he that's being quoted here was Pizer?
Pizer.
Yes.
Even though Pizer was ultimately exonerated, the whole incident imposed a steep cost. He had to give up his taxi medallion and is no longer working. His landlord also started proceedings to evict him.
Right, because he was in jail for 6 months.
Can't really work.
That's going to wind up getting you a little behind on rent.
Yeah, especially if you're a cab driver. You're not going to get a lot of...
73-year-old cab driver.
Right, not going to pick up a lot of fares in Cell Block C.
Yeah.
Though he was eventually able to convince the landlord to let him stay. Pizer's defense attorney, Chesa Boudin, wanted to use his case to challenge the constitutionality of California's money bail system. Boudin is on the board of the Civil Rights Corps, a nonprofit legal group that uses litigation to try to overturn what its members see as court and detention mechanisms that disproportionately and unfairly hurt the poor and disenfranchised.
Yep.
Boudin wasn't successful with Pizer, but in January, a state appeals court in San Francisco sided with the Civil Rights Corps in another case. Quote, a defendant may not be imprisoned solely due to poverty, unquote, the 3-judge panel ruled. In that instance, a 63-year-old man was being detained, unable to pay the $350,000 bail demanded for allegedly breaking into an elderly neighbor's apartment, threatening and stealing $5 and a bottle of cologne. $350,000 for allegedly breaking into an elderly neighbor's apartment, threatening him, and stealing $5 and a bottle of cologne.
$5 and a bottle of cologne from a 63-year-old man, where the bottle of cologne probably only cost about $5.
Yeah, it could have been $8.
Like Old Spice is cheap.
It could have been.
That's all I'm saying.
Could have been $8. It still doesn't matter.
Right.
Quote,
I'm just saying, this isn't some Tommy Hilfiger, custom cologne, probably.
It could have been. We don't know. It could have been something fancy in French. The point being, a 63-year-old man who, again, sounds like he did something kind of stupid, broke into an elderly neighbor's apartment, allegedly threatened him. And keep in mind, every time I say this, He allegedly broke into an elderly neighbor's apartment. He allegedly threatened him and allegedly stole $5 in a bottle of cologne. Those are all allegations that have not been proved in a court of law.
Correct.
Yet he has to come up with $350,000 not to go sit in jail until his trial. Quote, the problem this case presents does not result from the sudden application of a new and unexpected judicial duty, unquote, the judges noted after ordering a new bail hearing for the man. Quote, it stems from the enduring unwillingness of our society, including the courts, to correct a deformity in our criminal justice system that close observers have long considered a blight on the system, unquote. The days of judges deferring to fixed bail schedules, which are established by city and county governments and set dollar amounts based on the severity of charges, may be coming to an end. The day of money bail itself may even be numbered. California lawmakers are considering whether to remake the state's pretrial system so that money is not a consideration in determining who remains behind bars prior to actually being tried. The state's Chief Justice and Attorney General have declared support for such reforms. If California follows through, it'll join such states as New Jersey, which started a similar transition in 2016, and Alaska, which launched reforms earlier this year.
And we touched on what happened in New Jersey. And again, correlation, not causation.
Right.
The article, again, from Reason, and I will get both of these eventually posted up on the social medias, but they mention in Reason that violent crime has been dropping nationwide.
Right. The big prediction was if you do away with cash bail, if you do away with requiring these obscene amounts of money from criminals, boy, crime is going to go through the roof, Darryl. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, so say the people in the cash bail bonds industry.
Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. What are your thoughts on the cash bond system, the criminal injustice system, or anything else? This is Free Talk Live.
From the second letter of Captain Mark. Any pirate knows that commerce is communication. Markets condense oceans of information into a single price. Innovations in communication are circumventing the scrutiny of the Crown. This signals a change in the coin of the realm. The Crown uses digital currency to surveil, censor, seize, and destroy wealth at will, so pirate currency must protect us from this weaponized money. We need to move funds further, faster, cheaper, and without third-party observation, basing decisions on an accelerating flow of information. So pirates require nearly instantaneous transactions with no arbitrary limits on volume or artificial influences on fees. Most importantly, a pirate currency must preclude centralization. Otherwise, it will become another link in our chain to the Crown. A superior currency will result in the obsolescence of the coin of the realm and the extinction of the Crown itself. Trade above the grid. Join us at pirateswithoutborders.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
When do you want to spot that burglar? When he's casing your home or after he's in? Ask John, whose Blink cameras alerted him of burglars trying to break in while his family was home. Or Shannon, whose Blink camera caught a package thief. Blink motion-activated cameras are wire-free, set up in minutes, and run on 2 AA batteries that last up to 2 years. Save up to a whopping 40% off all outdoor XT and add-on cameras through December 22nd while supplies last. Visit blinkprotect.com/holiday. blinkprotect.com/holiday.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Your calls and thoughts welcome about whatever is on your mind. But we have been talking about the criminal justice system, or rather the lack of justice that is offered in the criminal justice system, especially for those people who, well, quite frankly, who might be indigent or otherwise unable to pay the cash bail that they're faced with. Talked a little bit ago about a California man who wound up, what he actually did was tried to confront some noisy neighbors and decided to brandish a firearm while doing it. What he was charged with, because his gun discharged accidentally, what he was charged with was attempted murder, 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and discharging a firearm at an inhabited dwelling. Judge said $625,000 and you get to go home. Well, 73-year-old taxi cab driver didn't have $625,000. The attempted murder charge was ultimately dropped, but that didn't reduce the amount of money that he needed to cough over to go home before he went to trial. Luckily for him, which sadly is not the case for most people in that situation, luckily for him, he was acquitted of the charges. There was another man that allegedly broke into an elderly neighbor's apartment, threatened the neighbor, stole $5 and a bottle of cologne, allegedly, and was told $350,000. Let you go home before court. In his case, he did find some lawyers to wind up helping him, and the judges said, yeah, in this case, they've got to take another look at the bail here.
Yeah. Quote, a defendant may not be imprisoned solely due to poverty, unquote. The 3-judge panel ruled. That's good.
So let's continue with this article from Reason that, again, I will get posted up on the social medias here in just a bit.
Yep. And it continues. In the meantime, groups like the Civil Rights Corps are keeping the legal pressure on. Prior to the January ruling, the group had found success in Harris County, Texas, home of Houston. In 2016, it filed suit against the county's bail practices, arguing that the reliance on bail schedules to determine who was freed pretrial left 500 people stuck in jail each night for misdemeanors solely because they couldn't pay. not because they were dangerous or posed a flight risk. The group argued this violated the defendant's equal protection due process rights. In April 2017, a little more than a week after Pizer was arrested, a federal district judge agreed and ordered the county to start releasing indigent defendants.
Now, what they're talking about here, and the way they wrote this sentence, where they just throw in the reference to Pizer, the federal judge wasn't making a ruling on Pizer, was making a ruling on the other individual whose name I do not see in this article. They just reference the 63-year-old man.
Well, yeah, and here they're actually talking about a case between the Civil Rights Corps and the county of Harris County, Texas. This had to do with the 500 people that were just stuck because they couldn't afford to pay bail for misdemeanor charges that weren't even felonies. Harris County officials are now grappling with the need to make changes to their pretrial detention system, as subsequent rulings made it clear that the courts have come to a dim view of using bail schedules as the sole determination of who ends up stuck behind bars. Even a small amount of time in jail can cause huge disruptions in the lives of the accused. The Pretrial Justice Institute was founded in 1976 with the help of Department of Justice funding to research and advise on policies for the treatment of people who have been arrested but not yet tried. Years of data and analysis have determined that 3 days in jail is all it takes to cause serious problems. When courts tie defendants' pretrial freedom to money bail, it ends up being a form of punishment for those who cannot pay prior to any conviction.
Now, I'm curious here on the 3 days.
Yes.
I can see some cases where 3 days might wind up being very detrimental if it's in the middle of a work week.
Yeah.
But if, let's say, it's late Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and you happen to not work a job where those are days that you would work, but if it happens to fall on your days off, then maybe. But anybody missing some work, because there's a lot of bosses. Oh, you didn't come to work, don't come back.
Yeah, or better yet, call your boss Monday morning, because the judge isn't going to be in till 9 o'clock, and you're supposed to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning,
right? And
explain why you're not going to be there today,
right?
And if you want to be honest about it, see what he says. You're probably not going to get a real positive response.
Yeah, just don't come back. Sorry, bud.
Right. Quote, when those folks managed to get out, their jobs were gone, unquote, explained Charisse Fano-Burdine, CEO of the Pretrial Justice Institute. Quote, it makes it impossible to make rent or mortgage payments. Families lose homes. It has almost an instantaneous detrimental effect on people's lives, unquote. And there are a lot of these people in America, the world leader in incarceration. According to a 28...
the land of the free.
Right.
That winds up having, 1 in 4 people that are currently behind bars are sitting in an American prison or American jail.
I'd have to double check that, but it's a ridiculously high number, and that's what we have to...
Yeah, the last I heard was that the United States has 5% of the world's population, 25% of the world's prison population.
I don't doubt that. According to a 2018 study in the American Economic Review, 500,000 people in the country are being detained before their trial on any given day, nearly twice as many as in communist China. The report cites the use of money bail as a driving factor, noting that the typical defendant is poor. Less than half of them can afford bail even when it's set under $5,000. When defendants are stuck in jail while awaiting trial, data indicate that they are more likely to plead guilty or be found guilty of crimes. They are also likely to be given longer prison sentences. This is partially a result of their not being in a position to bargain with prosecutors because they're stuck behind bars and desperate to move things along. For low-level crimes, all that time spent in pretrial detention can be the equivalent to the length of the sentence they get even if they're found guilty. A poor defendant who can't afford bail may spend days, even weeks in jail waiting to see a judge for a crime where prison time might not even be required. At that point, it's hard to justify spending time or money fighting the charge, even if backing down leaves an innocent person with a criminal record. Quote, everyone who works in the system knows that the assembly line cash bail system coerces guilty pleas, said civil rights founder and executive director Alec Karakatanis. Because American courts don't have the manpower to prosecute or try every person who gets arrested, the system needs a way to coerce them into pleading guilty. The most effective way is to keep them in jail.
Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450 free. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Blockit Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockitPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockitPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockitPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
You may need this herbal tea for relief right away, so write this down. DRMILLERS clinic.com. If you take meds, then suffer stomach distress, constipation, indigestion, acid reflux, and bloating, and nothing else helps, get Dr. Miller's Holy Tea or Super Holy Tea, a cleansing, detoxifying herbal tea now available at great rates direct from Dr. Miller's office. Call or click 888-660-7039 or DRMILLERS clinic.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. That's how you can call in and join us. Well, that's one of the ways that you can call in and join us. You can also call in on the Discord call-in lines, available over at discord.lrn.fm. We'll jump back into the discussion here about the criminal injustice system, but Sarah called in earlier talking about people putting bait packages on their porches. Well, that's one way to spot a burglar, right? You put out a trap and then you've got a camera that watches. Well, what better camera to use than the Blink motion activated cameras? They have indoor and outdoor cameras that are wire-free, all of them wire-free. They set up in minutes, and they run on 2 AA batteries that last up to 2 years. And if you're going to be traveling over the holidays, you know people do that, right? Yeah, maybe you want these Blink cameras because the live feed lets you monitor your home and check on your pets or the packages on your porch from anywhere using the Blink smartphone app. There are no contracts, no subscriptions. They are totally affordable, and Blink works with Alexa. Alexa, check my Blink cameras. Blink camera systems make a great holiday gift as well, and they're a brilliant way to monitor holiday package deliveries. Save up to a whopping 40% off all outdoor XT and add-on cameras through December 22nd while supplies last. Visit blinkprotect.com/holiday. That's blinkprotect.com/holiday. Blink is an Amazon company. Now, I did some checking on the numbers because I said that I thought that the supposed home of the free, land of the brave, blah, blah, blah,
right,
was also home to 1 in 4 inmates around the globe, despite having only 5% of the population. Well, it's actually 1 in 5.
Yeah.
Roughly. The U.S. prison population, according to the World Prison Brief, which is put out by, I lost the name here, the International Center for Prison Studies. The prison population in the U.S. is 2,121,600. The total global prison population is 107 million, or 10.7 million. Didn't have commas here, so trying to figure out where's that comma go. Works out U.S. has 19.67% of all of the inmates in the world. For every 100,000 people in the United States, 737 are currently behind bars. The next closest country per 100,000 population, Russia. China, horrible China,
right?
118 per 100,000.
Unbelievable.
The U.S. still has about 700,000 more inmates than China, despite China having 3 times the population of the U.S.
Right. So
Land
I know,
of the free, right?
Well, I know a lot of people think about that. It's like, well, you got to attribute that to our excellent system of justice, and that, we respect the rule of law, and we put the bad guys behind bars.
The rule of law where prosecutors and cops have discretion, then it's not really the rule of law, is it?
It's the rule of men.
The rule of law where we've had to date well over 300 people exonerated through the use of DNA evidence.
Yeah, that's the thing.
No innocent people wind up going to jail.
Never.
Or wind up getting executed despite people having been posthumously pardoned and exonerated.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we didn't mean to kill this person 95 years ago. My bad.
Well, and it should be an eye-opener to people when you find out that innocent people are charged and jailed even before they even get charged. They're jailed for 6 months, to a year.
Right.
And we're only talking about the states. I mean, right now, it's all this article is really talked about. never mind federal. I mean, because there you can get charged and you can spend 6 months in jail there too.
The National Registry of Exonerations list 2,323 people that have been exonerated, having lost more than 20,440 years of their collective lives.
Isn't that amazing? And
think about that for a second before you think that our justice system is flawless.
Right. And it's not. And it took me a long time to realize how bad it is. But I got to say, listening to this show, this is one of the things that opens your eyes. That's why we're trying to open your eyes. And don't trust our word for this. Don't just listen to what a couple guys on the radio say.
Right.
Do your own research.
Yeah, go to the National Registry of Exonerations. Go to the prisonstudies.org, which is the International Center for Prison Studies.
Yeah, and if you're a big believer in government, I encourage you to use the government's own numbers. You know, the government produces numbers on all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Look at some of their numbers and on all these topics that we discuss on this show.
Look at the Innocence Project.
Yeah.
They've helped over 200 people get exonerated specifically using DNA evidence.
Yeah. One type of evidence against people.
One specific type of evidence.
But that people were going to be put to death.
In a lot of cases, yes.
Yes. It's
some of their clients had been on death row for over 30 years. Before finally being freed. And in a lot of these cases, you've got prosecutors that are still fighting tooth and nail to the very end, even after they're presented. Here's the evidence that you failed to test 30 years ago. And they're like, yeah, we're going to retry the case.
Right. Yeah. We're pretty sure we got the right guy. Because they want those are further perversions of the criminal justice system.
Check out the Wrongful Conviction podcast with Jason Flom.
Yeah.
Where he interviews people that had been wrongly convicted. And I've heard more than one person on his podcast say, I was in prison with the guy that actually did the crime, and he came up to me in the yard to confess that he did this.
Yeah.
And the judge still would not listen to it.
No. We've already come to our conclusion. And this happens time and time again. It happens in every state. It happens at the federal level. But I'm going to hop back into this.
Yeah.
And we're talking about now the insanity of scheduling cash bail just based on some formula that somebody cooked up with a whole bunch of input.
Well, it's in our spreadsheet.
From bail bondsmen who have a financial interest in this. Spring 2018 finally saw calls for pretrial reform starting to spread across the country. In Atlanta, media attention on the case of a homeless man who spent 3 months in jail because he couldn't afford $200 in bail for a charge of soliciting on a roadway prompted the city council and mayor to change the municipal court system, cutting out cash bond requirements for several low-level nonviolent crimes.
Now, let me pause here to say that it's not just homeless people who don't have $200.
Yeah.
There are studies that come out generally every 6 months, at least once a year, showing that the average American, meaning half of Americans that respond to these surveys say, yeah, I don't have $400 in savings.
Yeah, and that would put me in difficult financial straits if I had to pay an emergency bill.
Right. I could not come up with $400 without selling things or taking out a loan from family.
Yeah, and it's really sad. Our time preference has changed from being long-term when we had good sound money to being very short-term where it's instant gratification and credit.
Well, and it's not necessarily all instant gratification, right? So
you're encouraged and you are enticed to do things over short time preferences.
Right, because if you don't buy, that new TV now, your money's going to be worthless in 6 months. So it's not just about instant gratification. It's about what can you actually do with what you have because it might be gone.
Exactly.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you could move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose.
And here's Mike's best offer ever. MyPillow is now offering 50% off their 4-pack special plus free shipping. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-951-5617 and use promo code FTL. That's 50% off plus free shipping. Don't delay. Order now.
We know you've had Dragon's Breath in the morning, but you've got to experience Dragon's Breath at night. Wolf Hill Ammo's Dragon's Breath, an incendiary shotgun round in 12 gauge, 20 gauge, and a 410 with an amazing muzzle flash and a fireball that launches up to 125 yards. Pure fun to shoot. At Wolf Hill Ammo, we love shotguns and offer the best specialty shotgun ammo on the market. Visit wolfhillammo.com to see our large selection of specialty shotgun ammo at great prices with flat rate shipping. wolfhillammo.com.
Most of you know that heart disease is the #1 silent killer in the U.S. What if I told you for just $54.95 a month you could fight against heart disease naturally? At Heart and Body Extract, we've been helping thousands of people get back to a healthier heart. Don't just take my word for it. Check out all of the success stories at hbextract.com, or to order, call 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. hbextract.com. Don't risk it when you can take charge of it.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And, of course, you can also join us on the Discord call-in lines over at discord.lrn.fm. Or maybe you just want to interact with others and watch what's happening. Because, yeah, people do that. We've got 2 webcams that show the host or one of the hosts. And then we've also got a webcam that sometimes shows the studio dog.
Jazzy.
Jazzy, the studio beast, who is probably laying in her MyPillow bed.
Really?
Right now. Is she behind me? Because I can't see behind me.
No dog.
No dog.
No doggy.
Then you might just be seeing a couple of posts and an empty dog bed. But you can find that over at twitch.lrn.fm. And it's not just Free Talk Live. There are other shows that go out from these studios onto the Twitch, including the Twitch-only freer Talk Lives,
yes,
which have happened a handful of times. Again, you can find all of that over at twitch.lrn.fm. Before we get back into the article here from Reason about, well, how it's not really innocent until proven guilty if you're poor. Let's go to the phones. We've got somebody calling themselves Uppity Slave calling in. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hi, guys. Cell phone. Apologize if it's bad. I just wanted to say about the Libertarian Party. I often hear some of you guys kind of getting down on them a little bit, and I understand your criticisms, and I think oftentimes you're spot on. But I want to tell you something that a few years ago, the president of our local Libertarian Party, he was talking to us all, and he said, you know, the Socialist Party of America, they've not elected anyone to any office in the country, but look how far they've moved the ball. And it's for that reason that I think the Libertarian Party deserves your support. And I know some of you guys are totally supportive of the party, but I think all of you should be to some extent. And I know I've been beating this horse since about late 90s. And I understand your criticism, and like I said, I think they're very valid. And the other thing I wanted to mention, if you don't mind, real quick,
go ahead.
Is on Ron Paul's website today, they had an article by Adam Dick, that's the Ron Paul Liberty Report, about the Free State Project jumps the shark. And I'd love to hear you guys maybe read that tomorrow or later and comment on it.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. And Uppity Slave, I want to remind you that I'm a life member of the Libertarian Party. I know Ian's the one that generally will give the LP a little bit of grief.
Yeah.
But that's because, you know, he's been a member of the state party for a while. He was a life member of the National Party. He wound up giving up his life membership when they wound up giving the 2008 nomination to Bob Barr and Wayne Root. So I can certainly understand somebody saying...
And I came close myself, you know, but I think if we all just keep on.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish the Libertarians good luck. And I'm not a member just because I don't believe in political parties. So, and this is coming from a guy who spent 30 years as a Republican. Do they believe in me? Do the Libertarians believe in me? Now, I can support them in all sorts of ways, but that doesn't mean I have to join. I've just never found any group that nails every one of my beliefs exactly, and that's what I feel it should do if I am going to join something. So I'm a party of one.
Uppity Slave, thank you for the call.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I'll definitely check out that article. I heard somebody mention something about somebody having posted an article saying that the Free State Project jumped the shark, but they didn't really have any details about what was in the article. We'll take a look at it top of the hour, and maybe we'll discuss it, maybe not, depending on what's in there. And of course, your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And of course, the Discord call-in lines over at discord.lrn.fm. So let's actually get back into the Reason article about the cash bail system and how really in this injustice system that we have, you're really only innocent until proven guilty if you have the money to wind up getting out of jail before your court date.
Correct. And we've been talking about some reforms that's starting to pop up. We just spoke about a case in Atlanta where a homeless man, spent 3 months in jail because he couldn't afford $200 for bail. And they've done some changes to the municipal court system, cutting out cash bond requirements for certain low-level crimes. Now, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner voted into office in November 2017 on a criminal justice reform platform, announced in February that prosecutors there would stop asking for cash bail for certain low-level offenses. Philly City Council also passed a resolution asking the state to end cash bail. In his State of the State address in January, Democratic New York Governor Andrew Cuomo called for an end to the cash bail system for misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies. This isn't only happening in Democratic strongholds either. Arizona and New Mexico have seen pretrial detention reforms to reduce the dependence on money bonds for release. And legislation has been introduced in Ohio to use assessment tools to help judges determine release risks and reduce the dependence on bail. The Pretrial Justice Institute sees the current push as the third generation of bail reform efforts. In the 1960s, Congress established a statutory right to bail unless the defendant is deemed a flight risk. The Eighth Amendment protects against excessive bail when offered, but doesn't require that bail be an option in a given case. Whether the arrestee might commit more crimes if released was not initially considered relevant. That changed in 1984 with the reform permitting federal courts to keep people in prison prior to trial if they were deemed a threat to the community.
Now, the conspiracy-minded people would probably say something about, see, it happened in 1984, so that's Orwell predicting something.
Well, it is Orwellian.
I want to remind people that in Orwell's 1984, animals and proles were free. The rules of the party only applied to party members.
Yes, that is correct.
If you weren't a party member, then all of their weird rules about, doublethink and newspeak and, the anti-sex league, that didn't apply to you.
Right. That law was upheld in a Supreme Court challenge in 1987. That law being a reform that that allowed federal courts to keep people in prison prior to trial if they were deemed a threat to their community. Burdine believes the latest wave of reform efforts dates to 2011, when then Attorney General Eric Holder hosted a symposium on the topic at the Department of Justice. He called for using risk assessments and other evidence-based tools to help courts decide who is safe to release. He also encouraged an expansion of pretrial services across the country. Court staff devoted to tracking and communicating with defendants to make sure they don't skip out on court dates or commit crimes while freed. Burdine says they've spent the last 8 years working to push those tools out to states and cities. But 7 years later, meaningful change is just getting underway. Part of the reason is that what happens when a person gets arrested can vary widely from state to state and even from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Courts across the U.S. don't all approach pretrial release decisions in the same way, so there's no single implementation plan that can be adopted in one fell swoop. I would agree with that because it varies. People vary across the country, other than to say you ought to do away with cash bail everywhere.
Right. This is one of those questions to where, sort of the decentralized versus central, and should rights be so decentralized to where somebody could say, well, the rules on my property are everybody named Bob that comes within 20 yards of my house gets shot in the head.
Right. That's not really germane to the way I'm thinking, but I'm thinking when you're returning rights to people, those should be centralized and broad. Well, in other words, do it at the federal level and do it for every U.S. citizen.
It might not be the exact same, but it becomes the question of, are rights universal? Or do you only have those rights that someone says that you have? And there are a lot of libertarians that are basically propertarians, to where they say, you only have rights on my property if I say you do, which means that I can take away your right to life because that doesn't exist on my property.
I understand what they're saying.
Are rights universal or not? Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Do you need extra cash to buy gifts or just to pay all those extra bills during the holidays? Well, now you can get cash fast this holiday season with a personal loan for up to $5,000 right from your phone or PC at 79cash.com. How fast can you get your cash? Well, with 79cash.com, our lenders can have your cash at your bank account as soon as tomorrow, regardless of your credit history. Just have a checking account and a regular source of income. Go to 79cash.com and you can get the cash loan you need now. So if you need cash fast this holiday season to buy gifts or pay all those extra bills, go to 79cash.com and get the cash you need. Visit 79cash.com. Type www.79cash.com directly into the address bar. That's 79cash.com. 79cash.com. 79cash.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, December 6th, 2018. Silver is trading at $14.40 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,238 per ounce. Zen is trading at $5, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,770. Antiwar.com reports a bipartisan bill has been introduced into the Senate on Wednesday, which would, among other things, declare the Senate's general belief that Saudi Crown Prince was in control of the security forces at the time of Jamal Khashoggi's murder, and by extension, complicit in that murder. The resolution was offered by Senators Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Todd Young, Dianne Feinstein, Ed Markey, and Chris Coons. Graham says he believes the Senate has to make a statement to try to make a Saudi relationship that's sustainable. The bill condemns the Khashoggi murder, expresses a high level of confidence in the prince's involvement, and makes a non-binding call for both the U.S. and international community to hold him accountable. In addition, the bill calls on the Saudis to negotiate a peace deal in Yemen, a settlement to their dispute with Qatar, and to immediately release a number of detained political prisoners. Zencash has changed their name to Horizon to better represent their transition from a cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're working towards the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizon platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizon to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. Services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. HORIZEN.global. UPI reports Wisconsin's Republican majority legislators voted to curtail the powers of their incoming Democratic governor on Wednesday. In an all-night session, the Republican-led Senate and Assembly voted to limit early voting and diminish the powers of Governor-elect Tony Evers. The legislation will hamper Wisconsin's withdrawal from a multi-state lawsuit seeking to overturn the Affordable Care Act. It also gives state lawmakers more power over the state's Economic Development Agency, which Evers has suggested eliminating. Another part of the bill makes it harder for Evers to alter some laws passed by the Republican-led legislatures, including the state's voter identification law. Republican Governor Scott Walker said he plans to sign the bill before he leaves office January 7th. The overnight session produced a 141-page bill after numerous delays and discussions behind closed doors. Democrats decried the concept of an outgoing administration intentionally handcuffing an incoming government. Senate Democratic leader Jennifer Schilling said, "We've had 132 legislators milling around this building for a day and night and morning." The Senate also approved more than 80 of of Walker's appointments to various state agencies, with Democrats noting that most of them had not had public hearings. The legislation limits early voting to 2 weeks, puts the legislature in charge of litigation, including a suit to overturn the Affordable Care Act, eliminates the Solicitor General's office, which oversees litigation, and requires the governor to obtain legislative approval to ban guns at the state capitol, a topic of Evers' gubernatorial campaign. Born into a devastating world and raised among the crowd, the Cloudwalker assumes a new identity and begins the unrelenting quest for truth. In this epic journey, he discovers dark secrets about aspects of his previous life that he once trusted. Through the Journal of the Cloudwalker, he shares both the traumatic hardships and the eternal beauties of his experiences. Fueled in the beginning by his unsettling thoughts and emotions, he learns how to find peace with everything he has woken up to. Dear Society by the Cloudwalker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports the likely incoming Democratic chairman of the congressional panel overseeing the U.S. Census said on Tuesday he aims to pressure the Trump administration into removing a question about citizenship from the 2020 Census questionnaire. Representative Darryl Conley said that when Democrats assume leadership of the House of Representatives in January, they plan to call Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross to testify about the citizenship question, which has spurred criticism and lawsuits. Conley told Reuters in an interview that Ross earlier lied to Congress about why the question was added to the census, adding it's not too late, we have until June before the forms are finalized. Evidence produced by the committee could also be cited by courts investigating the matter. Ross announced the citizenship question in March, billing it as a way to help enforce the Voting Rights Act, which requires a tally of citizens of voting age to protect minorities against discrimination. Critics have said the question could depress the response to the census from immigrants who often live in Democratic-leaning areas. If undercounted, areas with high immigrant populations could lose seats in the House of Representatives. Conley and Representative Elijah Cummings, likely chairman of the Full Oversight Committee, earlier this year questioned Ross's contention that the Commerce Department added the citizenship question at the request of the DOJ, saying court documents indicated Commerce initiated the idea. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Caitlin Taggart was a beautiful, lively girl who loved laughing and playing outside. But all that changed at the age of 12. Caitlin slipped into a persistent vegetative state, confining her almost entirely to her bed and Facebook.
She doesn't even have basic motor functions anymore. We literally have to drag her to the car to drive her to school in the morning.
She's totally unresponsive when we talk to her. Her eyes just roll back in her head.
Caitlin, honey, it's your dad.
With no hope that their daughter would ever recover, the Taggarts decided to seek legal permission to end Caitlin's life.
It is the most difficult decision we've ever had to make, but we just keep reminding ourselves that the real Caitlin is already gone. That's just her body texting.
We give her one painless injection, and that's it. Her eyes may flutter a bit, or she may murmur, "Are you for real killing me right now?"
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we had been talking about the criminal injustice system. That article is a good bit longer than what we have even touched on so far. So instead of trying to continue with it, and basically it just reiterates the same points with different examples of people that have been screwed over by this cash bail system. So let's actually change gears a little bit here and, well, still sticking with a Reason article, totally, not planned that we're just going to do, Reason articles tonight, but this thing about some kind of minimum wage for Uber and Lyft drivers that has passed in New York City is just ridiculous, and the article that I saw happened to be from Reason.
Oh, there you go. Central planning knows no bounds.
New York City's Taxi and Limousine Commission, the TLC, has never been friendly to Uber, Lyft, and other ride-sharing services. The TLC sees a large part of its purpose as propping up the market in taxi medallions. a special license that grants the owner the right to operate a cab in the Gotham City. As reasons Jim Epstein documented years ago, the value of those medallions was once more than $1 million. It's not exactly clear what they fetch these days, but it's much, much lower. In August, the city froze the number of drivers allowed to drive for rideshare services, and now the TLC has imposed a wage hike. The commission says the new rules, the first citywide regulations in the nation, were passed Tuesday and are expected to go into effect in mid-January. They would give drivers for services such as Uber and Lyft a minimum hourly wage of $17.22 after expenses.
Well, that had to have come up with that number somehow scientifically to account for every possible variation in needs of Uber drivers, right?
Well, they've got a 4-page document talking about this thing.
Put together by economists from around the world and experts on ride sharing? No, put together by the
TLC, the Taxi and Limousine Commission. Put out a 4-page press release, and I'm guessing in here they don't actually talk about how they... Well, actually, no, they do talk about here. The passage of these rules, and I'm just going to read the entire paragraph where the number appears. The passage of these rules follows a groundbreaking TLC Commission report by the New Schools Center for New York City Affairs and the Center on Wage and Employment Dynamics at the University of California, Berkeley. The analysis found that 96% of high-volume FHV drivers earn less than $17.22, the independent contractor equivalent of a $15 minimum wage. God. FHV being for-hire vehicle.
Okay, folks.
They say it also revealed that the median earnings declined more than 10% between 2016 and 2017. An analysis of driver expenses has also shown that drivers spend an average of $425 a week on the operation of their vehicles.
All right. So they're going to get a raise.
Fight for 15.
They're going to get a raise. Darryl, what's wrong with getting a raise?
No, they're not getting a raise. And here's...
They're getting a raise. It says so.
No. What it says is that Uber and Lyft drivers will have a minimum hourly wage. It doesn't say they're getting a raise.
Well, Darryl.
It doesn't say that they even have to work. So what's going to probably happen here is that Uber and Lyft are going to calculate, all right, you want paid by the hour? We'll pay you in 15-minute increments while you're actually driving a passenger.
Right.
If you're not driving a passenger, you're not on the clock, you're taking a break.
Yeah. My real issue with this and my real issue with the minimum wage is this is central planning. And I know
of course it is.
There will be people on this show that will sometimes say, when I say words like socialism, that, well, no, socialism means that the state runs the means of production. But that does not mean that price fixing and centrally planning economies are not features of socialist thinking. This is what Marx was all about. We don't need a market. All we need are the right, really smart people deciding what people need to be paid, what things should cost, and so on and so on. The reality is this insane idea that markets decide what costs they're willing to bear and what prices are right, based or what costs are based on price communication. That's what prices do. Prices communicate supply and demand to people who don't have all the information. You can't fix prices and expect to make realistic judgments about what's going to happen in a given industry.
Continuing on here, the report here by the commission, or rather the press release by the commission, also claims that about 96% of the city's 80,000 drivers who work for ride-sharing services will get a raise of $10,000 a year.
See, I told you.
Again, this is if they're considered to be on the clock as long as they're logged into the app, but I can almost guarantee it's going to be construed by Uber and Lyft, and I would say rightly so based on this, that, no, you're only working if you're actually going to pick somebody up or you have somebody in your car.
Yeah, this is from a linked article, but the formula, which uses a minimum per trip formula, could actually increase congestion because it encourages driver to take more short rides in Manhattan Central District rather than longer ones to other boroughs. So not only does this screw up the wages for employees, but it's likely to impact traffic. I love that.
The press release, I'm skipping between the press release and the recent article. They link over where you can actually view the rules that set a per minute and per mile minimum trip payment formula. And that, based on this weird formula that they've created, that's how they estimate that 96% of 80,000 drivers will wind up getting a $10,000 per year pay raise. Continuing on, Reason says that's going to be complicated enough to figure out, but it's likely that fares will increase. That's what tends to happen when prices are raised by fiat, especially if an employer can't automate its way out of such an edict. But it gets better. Not only will prices likely rise, as you mentioned, congestion might get worse. As Christian Britsky noted for Reason, congestion fell in cities such as San Francisco as ride-sharing increased. Also in the mix, New York's subway system is falling apart and major lines are undergoing long shutdowns and delays for repairs. Britsky has observed that rideshare caps are likely to have the effect of concentrating services in the busiest parts of town, thereby reducing one of the greatest benefits provided by Uber and Lyft, easy transport options for people living in more far-flung parts of the city where they have historically been poorly served by traditional cabs. Uber and Lyft have been nothing short of a godsend for the cities in which they operate, even if they are not above shady behavior, including working with governments to screw over each other and their competitors. It's appalling to see such positive disruptors get whittled down by political bosses trying to reassert a status quo that was clearly worse for riders. For a look at how much Uber drivers make, go here, and they do link over to something showing how much Uber drivers actually do make, or at least according to some estimates. And again, this entire thing it's based on, well, quite frankly, fantasy and fairy tale about how business actually works.
Right, but that's all these fans of Keynesian economics and socialism and communism can figure out. That we just need the right people to make the right decisions for everybody.
Fight for 15, say the robots. This is Free Talk Live, 855 450 free.
When do you want to spot that burglar? When he's casing your home or after he's already in? Ask John, whose Blink camera alerted him of burglars trying to break in while his family was home. Or Shannon, whose Blink camera caught a package thief. Blink motion-activated cameras are wire-free, set up in minutes, and run on 2 AA batteries that last up to 2 years. Save a whopping 40% off all Outdoor XT and add-on cameras through December 22nd while supplies last. Visit blinkprotect.com/holiday. blinkprotect.com/holiday.
Bitcoin.com is delighted to announce their latest partnership with the gift card specialists at eGifter. With many of the world's leading brands on their roster, it is now easier than ever to get the gift cards of your favorite brands with Bitcoin Cash. To get started, just follow these simple steps. Visit giftcards.bitcoin.com, pick the gift card you want, follow the instructions on your screen, and make your payment using your Bitcoin Cash wallet. Sit tight and your gift card will be delivered to you as soon as it's ready. That's giftcards.bitcoin.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep sleep faster and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose.
And here's Mike's best offer ever. MyPillow is now offering 50% off their 4-pack special plus free shipping. Go to mypillow.com or call 800-951-5617 and use promo code FTL. That's 50% off plus free shipping. Don't delay. Order now.
After notifying students that there will be no awesome events happening on campus this weekend, Hamilton College Activity Board Coordinator Jessica Wilson from the class of 2015 spoke to Onion reporters about the disappointingly empty days ahead.
On behalf of the entire Campus Activities Board, I would like to truly apologize for failing to live up to the standards expected of us from everyone on campus. And the fact is, we let the school down.
Wilson said that while the board is usually proficient at booking plenty of cool events for all students to participate in, the upcoming weekend will have no interesting lectures, no wrestling match against Amherst, no acoustic coffee house, and no outdoor movie screening of Silver Linings Playbook.
We tried our best to organize a foam party in Dunham Quad for Friday night, but all the foam machines were rented, and we failed. This falls on us. We realize we don't deserve your trust yet, nor do we expect it, but we'll do everything we can to restore your confidence in us, starting with a comedy hypnotist show on Thursday at Minor Theater. Tickets are $5.
This is the Onion News Network.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we've been talking mostly about the criminal injustice system, but also a little bit of other things. Just got done talking about the supposed pay raise coming to Uber and Lyft drivers in New York City, thanks to the Taxi and Limousine Commission mandating that I think they said by mid-January is when this is expected to go in, mandating that drivers for Uber, Lyft, and other ride-sharing services be paid $17.22 an hour because, see, that's the rate that if you were, hashtag fight for 15, but an independent contractor, then that's the rate you would get because expenses.
Right. That is just such a horrible idea on every part. You cannot, let me repeat that. You cannot expect good solutions to come from price fixing. If I said
you
tomorrow,
can, but
not an equitable part. No,
but it's not an educated expectation. Like, people can expect all kinds of things.
Yeah, you can expect it all you want, but you're not those results are not gonna appear the way you want them to.
Right, and there's such a thing as an educated guess, and then there's just fantasy.
Right, and this idea, and this goes back to Karl Marx, and it goes back to the earliest proponents of socialism and central planning, the fact that as long as we have the smartest, brightest people making these decisions, we've got our brain trust, and they're going to come up with the right answer, and that's going to solve all our woes. No, that's going to lead to dozens, hundreds, thousands of unintended consequences that will have a negative effect. The market works if you let the market work. They don't want to let the market work because that sort of pulls back the sheet on the rest of their BS.
Right, because, it's kind of like the quote, and I forget the exact statement from the big head honcho guy, Mr. Big Face on the screen in V for Vendetta, where he says something about, I want you to print this in every newspaper and say it on every radio station and every TV station because they have to know why they need us.
Right. And that's exactly it.
Like when the government shut down on Wednesday, did the world fall apart?
Did it shut down? Did it really?
All federal offices were closed. There was no postal delivery.
For a funeral, yeah. I remember that.
Except for Amazon packages were able to get delivered. But other than that, no postal delivery.
Oh, my God.
Banks were closed.
My biggest disappointment with
federal government was closed on Wednesday, and nobody even noticed, other than to complain about, why am I not getting post mail today?
My biggest disappointment with federal government shutdowns is that they end. It ruins it for me.
Yeah.
I just wish they wouldn't. So you want to talk about something else?
Yeah, let's talk about something else.
So what? This has been kind of a criminal justice night. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, and this is this concept of double jeopardy.
Oh, that's the second round of regular Jeopardy with Alex Trebek. He's the guy with the mustache.
Right. What double jeopardy?
I'll take things that should be illegal for 1,000, Alex.
What double jeopardy means is you cannot be tried twice for the same crime. Washington, this comes to us from Reuters, U.S. Supreme Court justices on Thursday expressed skepticism about putting limits on criminal charges being brought against people for the same offense by both federal and state prosecutors in a case involving an Alabama man charged with illegally possessing a gun.
Now, this is something that I have never understood how they're able to do it, other than the nominal excuse of, it's different. It's different jurisdictions.
Right.
You could get charged in, say, Keene and Manchester, both for having a busted taillight. It's not double jeopardy. It doesn't matter that it happened on the same trip. It's different jurisdictions.
Right.
Oh, the city, the county, the state, and the feds all charge you with the same offense. It's different jurisdictions. That's not quadruple jeopardy.
Yeah, and for those of you who favor the Constitution or like to look at things from a historical point of view, this was something not considered by our founding fathers. They did not believe when they came up with a rule against double jeopardy. At that point in time, you did not have 80,000 different federal statutes criminalizing almost everything.
As I understand it, and of course I wasn't there, but what I've basically been taught is that at the time, the founders didn't expect that there would be more than one or two federal laws, and everything else would be handled at the state level.
Piracy and treason. Those were two.
Those are two.
Yeah, but there were. And what is enumerated in the Constitution are very, very few crimes that would reach a federal level. Now we have marijuana. Marijuana is illegal at the federal level.
Well, see, because you might go from Massachusetts to New Hampshire with it, and then that's interstate commerce because you bought it in one state and then you smoked it in another.
Right. And what we've had are activist courts along the way that have come up with all kinds of creative ways to pervert the Constitution into believing that Washington should rule every single aspect of your life. This story continues. Depending on how the court rules, the case could have implications for special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election and any coordination between Moscow and Republican Donald Trump's campaign.
Now, let me stop right here let's talk about this supposed Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the FBI report that came out, I think it was early 2017? Part of what they put in that report on Russian interference in the election,
they paid for ads on Facebook.
RT America hosted debates with Libertarian and Green Party candidates.
Oh, the shame. Like who?
And they also told people that there are more options other than Republican and Democrat.
Yes.
I'm one of the candidates that was on RT America. Did I somehow interfere in the 2016 presidential campaign by being a presidential candidate and getting advertised or, like some sort of media coverage by something that's not PMSNBC?
All I know now is that now beers are on
Fox.
you. Some of that Russian money you got, Darryl.
I didn't get any Russian
You're
money.
buying. That's all I got to say.
I've got a Canadian fiver and a Chinese yuan. That's all the foreign money I've got.
A ruling against the government could limit the ability of states to bring charges against anyone charged by Mueller, whom Trump might pardon. The president has not ruled out pardoning his former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, who was convicted on tax and bank fraud charges. The court appeared divided on non-ideological lines for once, but a majority seemed concerned about the practical implications of overturning long-standing precedent and allowing for parallel state and federal prosecutions. A ruling is due by the end of June.
More on this, plus your calls and thoughts. Welcome, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Want revenge on the common housefly? Well, after 10,000 years, someone has finally come up with a better way. The Bug Assault, a miniaturized shotgun, which utilizes ordinary table salt as ammunition. Non-toxic and no batteries required. So much fun, you'll forget you have a wife and kids. Makes the perfect stocking stuffer. Get your Bug Assault today and save $10 on the Bug Beam Laser Combo, only at bugassault.com.
The United States of Empire is a book that claims the United States is the empire of the world. George Washington had warned us against foreign wars. The United States of Empire shows that World Wars I and II left England broken. Its former colony, the U.S., had to save the empire. Was there ever a vote? Who do we fight for? The deep state began with World War I. The United States of Empire by James Dunn. Available at Amazon Books.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government, the real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight, it's Darryl.
And Chris.
And we'll get to the phones in just a second. But first, I want to make sure that I tell you about Liberty.menu. What is it? Well, it's a directory of businesses owned and operated by liberty-minded individuals. But there's also events, digital content, and more over at Liberty.menu. And kind of like Yelp, listings can be rated and reviewed, but so much better than Yelp is the social networking aspect that's built in, where you can actually connect and share with other users. The use of Liberty.menu is exclusively for individuals who reject the initiation of force and those who agree to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle. Put your voluntarist ideas into action at Liberty.menu. And since the site is free to use, we can't give you a discount because, 10% off of zero is still zero. So, what can we do? Well, we can get you a really cool looking Free Talk Live listener badge to go on your profile. So when you go to Liberty.menu, input code FTL to get that special Free Talk Live listener badge. Liberty.menu. Let's go to the Discord, where we've got Wickawea calling in. Wickawea, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey there, yeah, I don't know that much about the stuff you're talking about, so I don't really have that much to say about it, but I have another point to raise about fuel taxes.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the UK, which is where I'm calling from, they are shockingly high. It's £2.19 per gallon, and that is, I just googled it, I think that's about $3.20 per gallon. Then what they do is they add a 20% value added tax on the total price of the fuel plus the tax.
Wow.
Because that value added tax is kind of a retail sales tax.
For people that aren't familiar, and I'm not intimately familiar with this value added tax, but as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, is that at each level that the item passes through, there's an additional tax. So
at wholesale and retail. And
so let's say that I'm making widgets, and I wind up buying raw material from somebody. There's a tax.
That would be Widgetopia. That's where you buy widget material from.
All right. Well, whatever. So I buy the raw material, and then there's a tax once I wind up turning raw material into something. But then, Chris, you want to put the widgets inside some toy that you're making.
Right.
There's another tax added at that level. And then when you sell it to the store for retail, there's another tax added there. Is that basically how that VAT works?
Yeah, vaguely, yeah. It's actually pretty complicated, but the economists all swear that it's a more efficient way to do things than a retail sales tax. I don't know, maybe, I think Jackie's an economist, right? So maybe she would know about that. But yeah, I mean, it's that is vaguely how it works. It apparently works out to less than a retail sales tax. So if 20% value-added tax would not be the same as a 20% retail sales tax, apparently.
Hey, whatever
anyway,
they have to tell you.
Yeah, and in fact, in the UK, we have like a kind of a regular feature that's talked about on the news is something called fuel poverty, and in 2011, that was 24% of the population. So it's just crazy that there was a kind of very slightly libertarian-leaning conservative candidate who got a massive cheer when he said that if he was prime minister, he would halve the cost of fuel overnight by getting rid of all the taxes. But
Right.
I mean, the guy is not genuine. But yeah, I mean, that's. I was also listening to the podcast of Free Talk Live from a couple of days ago where they discussed the gas taxes thing in France. And I know Jackie's not on right now, so I can't really question her about it. But she had some views that I really disagreed with about it. Like, she was very supportive of the existence of fuel taxes, and I don't know, gave some kind of slightly, in my view, slightly wishy-washy argument about how the world sort of is shared by everyone, and therefore we need to.
Yeah, the argument I've heard, and I don't know what Jackie's argument was that, whether you agree with government or not, roads are a shared resource, and the most equitable way to share some of the cost of those roads is through the use of a fuel tax.
Right, because
and if you're driving,
the fuel tax is often seen, and I don't agree with this, but
I don't either.
A lot of people say that a fuel tax is like a user fee.
Right, like a user fee. I can't get behind that. I'm still one of those crazy guys who believes that government doesn't need to own or create roads, that people and companies can do those things, and they can profit by them. One of my favorite papers, it was by Walter Block, who's a pretty famous Austrian economist and writer, but he just basically got tired of the question, so he wrote, I think, a 30 or 40-page paper on, okay, well, here's how it could work. And yes, he accounts for things, for the economics of upkeep and how to assess fees and things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's cool. I like his work. Or I like what I've heard of it anyway.
Yeah, I think Walter Block's fun to check out. And he another one of his books, and God, I cannot remember it off the top of my head. It's I think it's Defending the Undefendable.
He's got like 2 or 3 books with that title.
Yeah, but the point is how do you defend the pimp? How do you defend the person who screams fire in a crowded movie theater, and how he can come up with reasons as to why they shouldn't be vilified. Defending the Undefendable by Block is worth a read too. But
yeah, that does sound.
Yeah, I feel for the people of France. I saw a great meme, and it struck me as absolutely what I was thinking. It's the woman laying next to the guy in bed, and
she says he's probably thinking of other women,
right? And he's sitting there going, "I'm trying to figure out how to run guns to the French."
Yeah, well,
that's me.
They've got guillotines, dude. Did you see? And Wikipedia, thank you for the call.
Appreciate the call, man.
Did you see the picture where they took a guillotine from like one of the museums and just took it out into like one of the big squares?
Good for them.
Yeah.
And do your revolution right this time. Don't play around with manipulating the currency like you did during the first French Revolution. Bad idea.
How many French revolutions have there been now?
I don't know. The big one was the one that occurred around the founding of America. That's the one I reference.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure they've had more than one. But people just
there was the one where the Marie Antoinette and that other dude got beheaded.
Let them eat cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. People want to be free, and people don't want to be taxed. And at some point, governments and politicians are going to realize that they're on the wrong side of history, that things are not going to end up well for them.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait for that day to happen. It doesn't mean I'm calling for their death or anything like that, but I think everybody can recognize when they made a mistake. I hope they find that out soon.
Oh, and we had somebody call in earlier to ask our thoughts on this article on the Ron Paul Institute website titled Free State Project Jumps the Shark. And apparently the entire thing is about some post that was made on Twitter inviting people on some 30 under 30 list to attend Liberty Forum.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just kind of briefly...
You don't like that they said, hey, you guys should come to Liberty Forum. Apparently, these people were referred to as liberty activists. I don't know who's on this list. I tried pulling up the list, and apparently it's some, like you got to click through all of these different things.
I'll shoot you a link.
I'm not clicking through on 30 different pages to see who's on some list
and
of
you're
30
not,
people.
And you're not on it, Darryl.
I don't care.
Because you're not under 30.
You're right. I'm not under 30.
Nor am I.
To quote the former football coach at Oklahoma State, I'm a man. I'm 40. And this is Free Talk Live. Available online at freetalklive.com. We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
My doctor makes more informed decisions prescribing my blood pressure medications based on the data I presented to him on the Smart BP app.
That's one.
Smart BP can export a colorful, detailed blood pressure report that I can bring to my doctor.
That's two.
Smart BP is easy to use and intuitive, and the features on the free version are very generous.
And that's just 3 of the thousands of 5-star reviews of Smart BP, a new blood pressure tracking smartphone app from Evolve Medical Systems. Smart BP is the only app designed for ease of use and seamless connectivity to help manage your blood pressure and keep track of your health at your fingertips. With Smart BP, you can automatically sync your blood pressure measurements through Apple Health and Microsoft Health Vault. Connect with Apple Watch. Easily print and share detailed reports with your doctor, plus many more features. Smart BP is free and available both on Apple and Android devices. And be sure to search the App Store for Smart Blood Pressure from Evolve Medical Systems. That's Smart BP from Evolve Medical Systems, the Smart Blood Pressure Tracker.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
All right, it's another edition of the Edgington Post Show. I am Mark Edge, and, well, it's another episode here on Free Talk Live where I'm talking to folks from Anarchapulco. I think this is such a great mine to dig into. Today I've got Becca Tsigany. Becca, you there?
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon.
Now, Becca, you've been involved in Anarchapulco and the surrounding events for some time, and apparently you're going to be on the main stage this year?
Yes, actually, this is my first year at Anarchapulco. This year I was at Anarcha, Portugal.
Oh.
But yeah, I have been with Infinite Man Summit for the past couple years.
I see. So that's the relationship. I gotcha. So tell me about what are you going to be working on there on the main stage? I know you've got a book that you've published. I know that there's that I guess you're going to be involved in Infinite Man again this year. So what's going to happen on the main stage?
Yeah, there's lots happening. I'm very happy that after 20 years of this tantric exploration and, putting out erotic art and giving presentations, that people are really listening now. I think finally our time has come, because one of my main messages that I will be delivering on the main stage is that the system that so many of us don't like and refuse to be enslaved in. Yes, it's important that we know about the financial thing and the manipulations of the Fed and the political manipulations. That's all important, and learning how to extricate ourselves from our enslavement is very important. My main message is that the way they hook into us is within us individually. Yes, of course, they approach us as a society or as a human race, but it is our internal liberty that I'm focused on, and in particular about our sexual energy.
Yeah, that's the word that you said, the word tantric, and I guess the only relationship I have with tantric is, Sting, the singer of the Police, and apparently he talked about tantric relations with his significant other at one point, and I don't really, I don't know that much about it.
Yeah, well, Tantra is an ancient spiritual path. Actually, there are many paths. It's essentially the esoteric teachings in almost every religion, but they're hidden because learning to master your own power, how the Kundalini can cut both ways in terms of liberator or enslaver. Those teachings were reserved for the elites, the ones who were schooled. So what's happened in modern times where, it's the Kali Yuga, all the teachings are sprung open, so to speak, that especially for the West, the tantric practices were pulled out of spiritual traditions and brought into the sexually repressed modern world. In my book, I do describe many of the tantric practices, which include meditation and mudra and mantra and mandala and, yoga and sexual practices. So the idea of learning how your energy moves within your body, and when we're sexually aroused, that's when we really feel it. And so Tantra grabs a hold of that opportunity and says, yes, when you feel that energy moving, you can actually channel it. It doesn't have to be running willy-nilly through you, or in particular in the case of men who may ejaculate too soon, just thrown out. Many of the tantric sexual practices were to use the energy either for healing, channeling into a creative project, into the love bond with your partner. So this idea of getting to know what our energy is, how it feels, and more importantly, this is a big part of my message, when somebody is hacking into it. Because in our system, it is set up knowing that if we were all sovereign beings with, familiar with our energy and directing it toward what we want, it wouldn't be into enslaving systems. No, it would be into helping one another, pursuing our own passions, and, basically making a society where people can provide for their families, take care of nature, blah, blah, blah. So that's why this message, I feel, is so important, because it is on a personal level. It's something every person can do. And when we find out where they've got us hooked, and so for example, pornography is a big strategy that they use for robbing men, particularly men, but of course men and women, of their sexual energy and programming them in unrealistic relationship patterns. Then that's a pretty smart strategy if you wanted to control a populace. And then there's another part to this, and that is that in relationship, if you have a healthy relationship with your partner, and it could be man, woman, woman, then you naturally have synergy, right? It's like, hey, we could do this together. And what if couples had harmonious relationships, knew how to communicate, knew how to respect each other's boundaries, knew how to work together? Then couples could focus on certain things like, hey, let's make a new financial system. Hey, let's make a new kind of agriculture, and so forth. I mean, we have done this as a society, but I do notice that it's rampant to me, these strategies to divide harmony within couples. I don't think it's our human nature. I mean, men and women, for example, are very different, and we have to learn our different languages and so forth. But we can, and for example, my partner and I were both artists. We collaborated on a tantric art project, and by combining our energy and including our sexual energy and directing it toward artistic expression, we got all kinds of illumination and really got the world to be unveiled for us so that we could see more clearly. And if my partner and I can do it, anyone can do it. So that's part of the message I'm going to be delivering.
Yeah, I hear you saying that anyone can do this, and by this, I guess what I'm hearing is that there's some kind of energy within, and that you've got systems for focusing that energy. Is it something that's generally for couples, or is it something that single people might be interested in too?
Well, Tantra, being a spiritual path, it starts with the individual, and learning your sexual energy is an individual practice first. Because, for example, how can I take a lover and tell him or her what feels good to me if I don't know it myself? So that's why meditation, breathing, all these practices are so we know our own bodies, and not just our physical body, but our etheric body, our emotional body, our mental body, knowing ourselves so that we can then direct ourselves the way we want in the world.
I think this just illustrates the kind of variety that is Anarchapulco. There's so many different things that so many different people are putting out there, and you get to pick. It's like a buffet. You go and you pick what you want, and it's going to be a great event for everybody. I'm really excited to hear what you've got going on. Let's talk a little bit about this book of yours. It's I've got the title right here. It's one of those with a byline: Venus and Her Lover, Transforming Myth, Sexuality, and Ourselves.
Correct. Yes, it's I got to say, my partner and I didn't embark upon a 20-year project just by, let's do this. It just grew out of our love. My partner is a painter, and he said, I want to paint you. And I'm like, sure, whatever. Well, it turned out that the paintings that he started doing, first of me and then of us in sexual liaison, started giving messages to me. And then pretty soon I realized they weren't messages from me. And pretty soon we realized that it was archetypal energies, archetypal templates that were being channeled through the art and my words. And so when that kind of experience happens to you, naturally you pay attention. And the more we paid attention, it's like the bigger the channel was for information to come through. And I got to say, it was a personal transformation. So the book is a lot about...
Becca, hold that thought. If you want to hear more about Becca Tsigany's book, which is Venus and Her Lover at venusandherlover.com, go to archives.freetalklive.com. Look for December the 6th show, and you'll be able to find it there. archives.freetalklive.com.
If you're looking for work, it's a process of elimination, and you're trying not to be eliminated. So here's a tip for making the cut, and this might seem subtle, but to the person interviewing you, it's not. There is a world of difference between applicants who convey, I need a job, and those who simply ooze, I want to work, especially in these lean times when many you're competing with will seem desperate in I'll take anything mode. If you convey specific interest in this job at this company, you will be conspicuous. Thus, the value of going to school on the company you're applying to before the interview. With money and attention so tight now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips for job seekers and everyone else, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999. And ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can